All right, race fans, we are back. Episode number 248 of the One to Go show. Kraus is being a little sassy before we got the show started. We'll wait a little bit later in the bold predictions to give him shit as necessary. That's what we do here on the One to Go show. But of course, this episode and all episodes brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. We're in open enrollment for healthcare. So if you pay for your own health insurance, if you have employees and you pay for theirs, and you look at the end of each month and you're like, holy crap, am I paying way too much money? My deductibles are unreasonable. I can only go to specific doctors, which doesn't include the doctor I like because they're not in my network, so to speak. I might have a solution for you. It's called Impact Health Sharing. Works exactly like insurance, but better, much cheaper. If you have a family, pretty good health, it's probably a really good fit for you. Give me a call, text me, hit me up on Messenger. My number is 218-969-1380. I can get you a very quick quote. I can get you the information you need to see if this is something that can help you keep money in your pocket. Christmas is around the corner. You can spend money there. And what do you buy for Christmas, right? If you're Tracy Krause, you buy race car parts. That's what you do, right? You got to buy race car parts. If you want to be a good spouse, race car parts always a good present for your spouse. So how do you have extra money to do that? Save money where you can. Impact Health Sharing will help you do just that. So Coach, let's start with this. You guys, I see you haven't shaved yet. Does that mean we got good news from the blizzard? What do we got going on? How things rolling in the hockey world?
Still on a win streak. We're up to 8 games now, so we're climbing the ladder. We're still in second in the standings. We're only 4 points out of first place now, so can't break the streak, can't shave. We're still winning hockey games, so had another good weekend. Only one game this weekend on Saturday against the first place team. Then we have 3 next weekend on Thanksgiving. We always play the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Good crowd. College kids come back, so we have a good atmosphere that night. And yeah, everybody's in a good mood. When you win 8 games in a row, practice is fun, smile on everybody's faces. So it's a good time right now.
You have to tell the owner you guys are winning. That's when the owner wants to spend money, right? Maybe buy a new bus. I don't know. I mean, that's an option out there. You haven't missed any games, no issues with the bus as of late, so that's good. Keep her rolling there, Coach. Blizzard Hockey over in Alexandria. If you haven't been to a game, it's a good time. Check it out. Bert, how about you? Anything fun and exciting this past weekend? What's going on in Eastern Wisconsin?
No, not anything real exciting. Just watch the Packers beat the Bears once again for like the 900th time in a row. Um,
Bert, I'm going to pause you right there, okay? Me and Kraus, we talked about this a couple weeks back when you were cheating, right? You were trying to cheat on the draft that we did, okay? You're trying to cheat. And I said, just like the Packers, anybody that watches football knows you guys are a bunch of fucking cheaters. We saw the game. We saw how that ended, right? We saw the multiple penalties, the payoff from LaFleur and all that stuff that went on. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a Bears guy, definitely not a Packers guy, but let's face it, you guys were cheating. Now, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, so we'll give you that. But I don't know. I don't know if I'd brag too much about the Packers win. I mean, that's cheating. You guys are a bunch of cheaters over there in Wisconsin.
I didn't say I was bragging a lot. I just said I watched the victory, and
Fair enough. Anything else going on over there? Any racing news? Have you heard any little tidbits in the off season here, Eastern Wisconsin wise?
no, it's been pretty quiet so far. It was a couple weeks ago I mentioned that 141 was dropping the Grand National division, and I thought there was only one track that had them weekly now. There's actually 2 tracks that still have them weekly. And Brad Miller, who races late models and asphalt late models, well, late models on the dirt and asphalt, he posted on Facebook he may be trying to put together some little point series for those 2 tracks for that division because he actually got his start in that division.
Well, that's pretty cool. And it's always good when you have racers that kind of step up and they're like, look, things ain't quite happening as we'd like to see them happening. And, You know, a lot of people, right? They're like, well, man, I wish they would do this different. I wish they would do that different. And it's cool to see when racers step up and say, well, how about we collectively do something different? And, you know, hats off to Brad there for trying to put that together. Keep us posted on how that works and if they make that happen. I actually had a pretty neat deal. So I was out trucking, and you know how it is, guys. You wear racing shirts and you go to a place that maybe you're not familiar with, and if another racer or a race fan's there, they catch your eye right away, right? And you're like, oh, hey, how's it going? So I'm trucking over in Appleton, Wisconsin last week, and I'm delivering, and all of a sudden a kid comes walking out wearing a Giovanni Selzy shirt. And I'm like, oh, a little hot sauce there. He goes, oh, you're a race fan? I'm like, well, who isn't? I mean, like, well, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah. He goes, yeah, we got 3 cars in the shop, and my dad used to race. I said, yeah, I used to race. Said we got a podcast. Told him about the One to Go show, and he brought me in, introduced me to his dad. And Bert, I asked you if you knew this guy. You said you didn't, but a guy by the name of Russ Wettenkamp over in Appleton there, and he heard of Full Throttle Magazine. So you've been around for a while over there, of course, and so he kind of was familiar with that. He didn't know your name, but they got a 410 sprint car in there. They run some IRA stuff, and they have a couple midgets are getting together for the Chili Bowl, and 2 drivers that are racing their car. Steven Snyder Jr. going to be racing his car. He's apparently the winningest driver, I think, in winged micros. So like he's super talented in the wing micros. I think they race at like the Tulsa Shootout, that type of deal. And then another guy that I'm familiar with, this name, Chase McDermott. He's going to be running his car at the Chili Bowl as well. So a couple guys to keep an eye on. And then when the high limits come to town in, I guess, what is it, July or whatever it is, or June or whatever.
June, I think.
Yeah, June next year. He's working on some things there. There's a Oneida. That's a town kind of in that area, Bert. Is that
Yep,
correct?
yep.
He's working on kind of in between there, a meet and greet. He's got some pretty cool things happening. So we traded numbers. He's going to reach out, let me know what's going on. But another guy that he raced for many years, now he's on the promoting side. He's heavily involved that way. So pretty cool to meet that guy and have a pretty fun conversation with him. Another thing happening over in South Dakota. Did you guys see online Doug Walsh? He races, he's been racing family. His kid raced, still races, I think. Putting together a dirt racing school over in Watertown called the School of Dirt. And so Doug's a limited late model guy, runs the Daytona 1, the Gen X late model class over there. They're going to put together a limited late model, and they got bigger plans for maybe a mod and some other classes down the line. Sounds like he's already got several area drivers that are going to be heavily involved with kind of doing their part throughout this. There's gonna be a lot more details to come, but kind of a cool deal. I mean, I remember back in the day, a guy by the name of Gary Kinney up on the Iron Range. He had a kind of a racing school. I think it was over at the Votech there in Mountain Iron, I think it was. But it was a good program they had. And anytime you can do different things like that to get people involved, it's a really cool thing. So as they get more details, we'll get more details out to the public. Congrats, Doug Walsh, for putting that together. Really fun to see that. And then, so Kraus, Bert, you might not remember this, but maybe. Remember the sports channel there, MSN? Remember that channel? Do you remember back 1995, they had a show called Wissota Racetracks? You remember that? Kraus is nodding. For those of you listening to the podcast, I know you can hear shit rattling around. That's Kraus nodding his head up and down. That's what that is. So, man, a few words. So, Kraus, you do remember that show? It was a weekly deal. I don't know if it was a 1 year or a 2 year deal, but I remember one of their main sponsors was the Race Shop. I think that was in St. Cloud, and they went to a lot of different racetracks, Wissota tracks, and it was like a 30-minute deal. A gentleman by the name of Ted Ostad was the co-host on that show. The other guy was a hockey guy, Kraus. What the heck was his name? I think he did some stuff with the Wild.
It was Wally Shaver, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Wally Shaver.
With the Gophers. He was a big
Gophers?
Gopher guy. He's a big Gopher guy, yeah.
Yeah, so Ted and Wally, they did that show. It was really cool. I mean, it was really before its time. And So he's actually I don't know what his title is, but he essentially runs everything over at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, right? For Speedway Motorsports. And I just want to congratulate him. He got recognized. He got the Corporate Events Award, big award there for him. But it kind of got me thinking. I'm like, God dang, I recognize that name. Like, why do I recognize that? And I looked it up and I looked and yeah, sure as heck, they brought back 1995 WISSOTA had a show. So if anybody out there, I know Lauren Inman has a couple on his YouTube page, but if anybody has all them old shows, man, that would be fun to kind of post some of them in the off season because kind of a trip down memory lane. I mean, 1995, guys, that's freaking 30 years ago. It feels like it was 2 years ago. So congratulations to Ted on that. And I chatted with him a couple times. Got to get down to Atlanta and say hi to that guy. So wanted to make sure I was able to touch on that. So not a lot of racing this past week, but one big one in the late model world. So let's have a little quick recap of that. But first, a shout out Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating up in Ashland, Wisconsin, home of the Galloper chassis. Of course, they're the proud sponsor of the #1 series in all of WISSOTA racing. That's the Northland Superstock series. Chris and the gang up there, they do powder coating, sandblasting, fabricating. They sell parts, like I said, wives, right? If you're looking to get Christmas presents, reach out to Chris. He'll get you what you need, get them parts, safety equipment, whatever. They do it all up there. Great group of guys. And super stock drivers, little teaser right now. 10th anniversary of the Fastlane Super Stock Series. Okay. 10th anniversary. Dennis got some pretty big plans, but I want you to put on your calendar 6/7, June 7th. Mark your calendars. I'm going to leave it at that. There's going to be a really cool announcement. There's going to be some big details. Super stock drivers, I promise you, that is one that you're going to want to put on your calendar. It's going to be a big one. Write that date down and set it to the side and don't plan anything else for June 7th. So the big stuff this weekend, guys, Castrol Flow Racing Night in America. They ended their season with a doubleheader down at Sonoy in Georgia, the Peach State Classic. They ran Friday and Saturday. Going into the weekend, Bobby Pierce had a 25-ish, right around 25-ish point lead over RTJ, trying to lock up the championship. Of course, RTJ, he won the Lucas Oil Championship. Pierce won he won the XR Super Series. And second, of course, in the World of Outlaws, he felt a little slighted and he was trying to lock down his second championship of the year. Could he do it? Would he get it done? That was a big question. Well, night #1, crack a little bit cowboy up, and RTJ got it done. BP 32, he got second, still looking really good. A lot of attrition. I'll let you guys touch on the race and kind of what happened. Night #2, the wheels literally fall off. Not like he didn't have a tire fall off. Might as well have, but shit happened, right? And RTJ ends up winning. Bobby Pierce ends up having I think he went to a backup car, didn't he? Did he go to a backup car and he took a provisional, started 25th? Track was kind of on the bottom. It didn't rubber up, but it just wasn't racy. He gets up to 11th and RTJ steals it from right underneath him and takes home that championship. Other than, that was kind of the big storyline, but what stuck out to you? Anything stick out to you on race? I mean, kind of a tale of two nights, right? Cowboy up night 1, half the field pulled off. Night #2, track was slippery, top to bottom, no character, no bumps. Bert, as a fan, let me ask you this as a fan. What track did you like better, Friday or Saturday?
Well, Fridays had more action. I mean, like you said, Saturdays was nice and smooth, but it was basically everybody stayed on the bottom, so there wasn't as much passing. I mean, I understand drivers don't like rough tracks because it gets expensive, breaking parts and that sort of thing. So obviously you try to find a happy medium between the two, but yeah, Fridays was more exciting than Saturdays.
No, Coach, I didn't think. I mean, it was choppy. The bottom was choppy, but it wasn't like, in my opinion. And don't get me wrong. I was watching on the TV. It didn't look like it was massive holes and ruts and like a straight up car killer to me. It looked like it was choppy and had some character. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, that was about exactly what it was. It was kind of spotty holes, you know. It wasn't like go into turn one, there was a big rut. There was kind of one there in the middle, 1 and 2, where RTJ was kind of bouncing off a little bit, getting some traction. Then he kind of got away from that a little bit. I think it was getting a little bit deeper. But yeah, it wasn't horrible, and the track wasn't. There was still some slick spots on it, even though it was a little choppy too. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like it was you were flat to the wood, hammer down, bouncing through the holes. It just had a little bit of character in it. And then Saturday was Saturday. I mean, you couldn't. If, as a fan sitting there watching that, nobody wanted to watch that. You know what I mean. It was just train race, and I think everybody wanted to. I think everybody wanted to see Pierce in the back, and see what he could do. But I mean, even the camera was showing him a little bit, and then the camera guy stopped showing him because he wasn't going anywhere. And you're talking Bobby Pierce, so just a little bit not surprised, but a little surprised. RTJ dominated, man. I mean, he put a stamp down on that deal, and he seemed to have a little attitude even with his victories a little bit, and then victory lane and be like, hey, I'm the man. And he's the kind of guy who wants to put a stamp on things and let people know that no, Bobby Pierce isn't the number one guy. I'm the number one guy. So he's not going to put up with the Pierce being the number one guy. So interesting to see him put a stamp on things. And like I said, RTJ, he don't quit. He's going to race until there's no racetracks to allow. He's going to run year round. Yeah, that's just the way he is. So pretty interesting story to see him dominate the way he did.
Bert, I'm going to ask you a question. I think we might have been going the same direction here, maybe.
Okay.
So I'll ask you this. So we got literally 1 month left, essentially one race. I mean, Gateway Dirt Nationals is basically it, right? I don't think them guys are going to race anything else until after the first of the year. Now, RTJ has been kind of on the back door of that. Bobby Pierce for a while now has been the, dirt on dirt #1 dirt late model driver in America. With RTJ winning this deal, taking it from him, winning the Lucas deal, is there an argument? Is there a possibility that when the final thing comes out at the end of the year on dirt, is there a possibility that RTJ takes over that #1 spot as #1 driver in America?
I mean, actually, I was going to suggest that this be a debate on a future show, but we can discuss it now. I mean, yeah, I mean, you look at the resumes. I mean, RTJ has 2 championships. Pierce has 1. His championship is an XR, which didn't have a lot of cars following it, where the Castro series had more cars following it than XR. And you look at the adversity that RTJ had to go through the year. I mean, he had to race for how many different? I mean, he raced the Rumley car for a couple of races. I don't know if it was that. Yeah, it was in some of the Castro races, I think. And
So I'll stop you there. So just to elaborate on that, he ran for 4 different teams in 8 races to win the Castro Flow Racing Night in America. He ran his original team, which was what, SSI, I think it was, and then he ran for Steve Shepard. He ran the Rumley car, and then he ran the Kohler car here at the end of the year. So 4 different teams he had to race for in an 8-race series to win that deal. That's impressive.
So yeah, I mean, I think you can definitely make a case for him being a #1 driver.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, and put the comments below. We'll wait to see what comes out. I'm sure that's gonna be a heck of a debate in the dirt late model world. They got a pretty good group of guys at that dirt on dirt. I mean, they're all in. They're way more in the no on late models than what we are, and we get some information from them. And it's going to be fun to see the content they come up with, to how that transpires into what they finally decide. And we can, when that comes out, clearly we'll talk about it when it comes out, and we'll discuss if we think they made the right call or not. But boy, I tell you what, he sure made an argument this weekend. As far as the track goes, we're in a state, right? And we've said this, we've talked about this for years, and we don't need to go down the rabbit hole too far, but and don't get me wrong, none of us want to see a complete dumpster fire of a track. Like, I remember the Superior Speedway back in the 90s, and I'm not shitting you, the holes were a foot deep or deeper. I mean, that red clay, a foot deep ruts. I mean, literally tearing trailing arm mounts and busting cars in half, right? Nobody wants to see that because that is just a terrible deal and everybody destroys shit. Cars are too expensive. On the flip side, right? Bone dry, right? It's kind of boring. A little chop is we talked about it, is more exciting, but racers, Kraus, you're a promoter now. You're on the promoting side of things at the Viking Speedway and a racer. Very accomplished. Okay. Now, you've had conversations, I assume, with fans and with drivers. And when the track is a little bit choppy and fast on a half mile, a little bit of chop is a little different than a little chop on a quarter mile, right? It's totally different. You're going way faster. Now, the crowd, I'm going to assume, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, most of the time when we see stuff on social media, we talk to fans. If there's a little character in the track, a little chopped, where people are kind of hooking ruts and shoving the nose, and some people seemingly float right through it, the crowd is like, holy shit, that was exciting. That was way better. The drivers, especially the top tier drivers, right? They're like, I don't want none of that shit. I want smooth black top to bottom. I mean, when I raced super stocks, I didn't want a bump. I didn't want tack. I didn't want a cushion. I wanted it dry top to bottom is what I wanted. Felt like I was at an advantage. Are we in a spot now where literally what the drivers want and what the fans want, casual fans, I'm not talking your diehards. I'm talking you take 100 new fans to the track and they're there to be entertained. What that group of people needs to be entertained to keep coming back, are those two totally different things?
Yeah, it's a really touchy subject right now, especially with car count these days, Ryan. You know what I mean? So you gotta, you look at it and say, well, you gotta have cars to get fans. Well, you know what I mean? And then the fan and the drivers, like you said, are looking for a little bit smoother, drier track. And they are, and the fans want entertainment. They want the entertainment value. You ask any fan, they want to see last lap passes and they want to see crashes. It's just it sucks saying it, and we don't want crashes. We don't, you know what I mean? We don't want any of that. But that's what they come to see. And you want to come to Viking Speedway, you want to see cars going fast. You know what I mean? Like it's and the track we had, like for the Challenge Series, it was perfect. It was racy. Those late models were flying, and it's been so long since the late models have been at Viking. You saw them cars, and it's like, holy smokes, they are flying, and that's what the fans want to see, and they want to see, three wide action and being able to race and have some grip on the track. So it's a super touchy situation right now, Ryan. And my dad was track maintenance guy for 30 years, and his goal was 75% of the nights, I'm going to have a good track. That's what his goal was, because you're going to have flop. You just are. You're going to have a flopper. You're going to water too much. You're going to wreck the track, or it's going to be 95 degrees and the sun's beating on it all day, and you can water all day long, and it don't matter what you do to the track. It's going to be dry. So, like I said, you kind of shoot for that. And then, like you said, you want to, fan counts are going down. Well, what are we doing to get fans? You got to have cars, you got to have a good racing, you know what I mean? So it's a real tough, especially right now, because we've never experienced car counts this low and the fans this low together. So it's a real touchy subject right now, and you got to stay on top of your game and talk to people and make sure you're talking to your employees, talking to the drivers what they want, and making the best decision as a racetrack, obviously financially, and kind of going from there. So yeah, it's a super super interesting topic, and a super touchy topic these days.
That job sucks. I don't know how to say it. Being a track prep guy, that job sucks. I was critical of track prep guys when I raced. We're critical of track prep guys now when we watch races and do the show. Everybody's a critic. Everybody, social media, tracks a little bit off. That guy's an asshole. They shouldn't pay him. Get rid of him. He's stupid. Doesn't know what. I mean, we've all said it. We've all seen it been said. And you're right. It's touchy, right? Because you have your top drivers out there are like, we don't want none of that rough shit. We don't want no choppy stuff. We want smooth. Got a lot of money in our cars. We don't need to be wrecking shit. We don't need that, right? And on the flip side, it's like, man, we're trying to get more people there. Your diehards are diehards. They're gonna come regardless. They just, not that they don't matter, but they're coming regardless. Okay. it's when if you're doing everything you can to try to get new people there, if they're bored out of their mind, they're not coming back. So it is very, very important to have that balance, and it's a tough deal. I'm telling you, it's a tough deal, and things have just gotten way too expensive to have too much character in the track, because we can't have people wrecking shit and losing cars either. So yeah, you're right, touchy subject right there, but yeah, it's interesting to hear that conversation. It's definitely a good one. So another guy that raced, I didn't watch the races. I guess I watched a little bit of the race on the 2020 page. Troy Powers has a page on Facebook, and they had some video clips of Alltech. Cade Nelson, Little Hammer, third generation driver from up in Hermantown. Kind of fun watching this kid grow as a race car driver. His dad, of course, the legendary Daryl Nelson, and Billy Nelson, his grandpa. He's going down here in a couple weeks, guys. 604 Nationals, 100 grand to win down at Alltech for the 604 late models. And they decided to make a trip down there, have a little precursor, get a little test run in. And wow, I'm here to tell you, the crate guys down there are playing chess, and the crate guys up north are playing checkers. And it don't mean that our guys aren't good or whatever, but the crate late models down in the south, it's been there for a long time. I mean, they've been running crate late models. They kind of have it's a well-oiled machine, so to speak. And he got an education. He got 13th, and he's going to get faster. It's, he's a good driver. He's going to get faster, but man, oh man, do you think that, some of these northern guys are going to be heading down to that deal? Do they have a prayer to compete at that deal? What do you think?
Well,
Right now, I'm going to say probably not, because, like you said, Ryan, it's a different ball game down there. They the crate model class up here it's I mean, you're talking a legit starter late model class. You know what I mean? We're talking used chassis, 10, 12, 15 years old, bolt on shocks from Napa. I know not quite that extreme, but that's kind of how they're trying to keep the cost down. Down there, like they say, you got crate cars coming right off the pull down rig, right onto the racetrack, right from Rocket, right from Longhorn, and you're bolting in a 604 and you're going. So it's a completely different ball game down there. It's good to go down and get a little bit of test, but like you said, it could be bringing a knife to a gunfight. Who knows? But hopefully they get up on a little bit and get used to the rules and complete. And there's crates all over down there. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, it's 602, it's steelhead, it's steel blocks, it's 604s. I mean, it's limited late models, sportsman's late models. I mean, it's nonstop late models down there. So be interesting to see. I hope it'd be nice to see a good group go down there and compete. It could be some fun for us, but you're gonna have to probably spend a little bit more money and get your A+ game if you're gonna go down there and beat those boys.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, he'll learn. It'll be an education. It'll be a great experience. But the way I look at it, I was having this conversation with some friends here the other day, is the 604 late models in the South. When I talk South, it's North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, that southeast region. That is their version of Wissota late models. Okay. So they're weekly top tier late. They don't have super late models down there on a weekly level. That's everything's a traveling series for super late models, just like it is up here. Like none of our tracks up in Wissota country, they don't have super late models weekly. They have Wissota late models, which is spec engines and such. So their version of Wissota late models, they don't have that spec engine deal. That is 604. So you take that area down there, right? You look at Wissota country, your Tyler Peterson, Shane Sabraski, Pat Dorr, John Canta, that top tier driver, right? Daryl Nelson, that driver. Those guys down there, they run 604 late models. That's what they race. That's their class. That's what they race. Now they might jump in a super late model like for a special, no different than some of the guys do up here, right? You see Don Shaw, Massengill, they jump into a super late model once in a while when they come to town. They do the same down there. So Cade and Matthew Larson and some of them drivers that make the trip down there, they're essentially going down there when they run a 604. That's like them jumping into being a 604 driver here and being like, hey, I'm going to go run the challenge series. That's essentially what it's like. They're running against that level of drivers. So they're going to run against some really good drivers. And there's some hitters. I see Ricky Weiss going to be at that race. We'll talk more about the 604 Nationals as it gets closer. But good experience for Cade. Going to be fun to watch him. That alone, the fact that he's going to be there gives me personally a reason to watch that race. I want to see him do well down there. It's going to be fun to watch another generation of Nelson racing. So let's jump into, speaking of WISSOTA. Bert, do you have anything to add on that? I should have asked you. Sorry about that. No.
No.
Let's
You
jump.
guys covered it.
All right, a little WISSOTA news. Let's jump into some WISSOTA news. But first, to shout out Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. So Buck, the founder of Daytona 1, this guy, when it comes to the lubricant industry, there's nobody better than this guy. He's in the Hall of Fame at NASA specifically for lubricants. And when I say lubricants, I mean it's everything, right? It's assembly lube, it's gear oils, it's tranny fluids, it's grease, it's, I mean, you name it. And then they got tire treatments and tire cleaners. They have so much stuff. Anything to do with lubricants, they have it. And you can find out more a couple different ways, right? You can actually call Chad, the regional rep, his number 507-828-3536, and he'll actually come visit you. He'll bring everything and he'll kind of give you a tutorial. You can jump on Facebook, you can jump online, or you can go to the PRI show. And Buck is actually going to be speaking at the PRI show. So if you want to go learn about some of these products, the tire treatments, tire cleaners, and learn what these really are, go to the PRI show and learn from the best and find out what he has to say, get that information. So that's Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants, the best in the industry by far. So speaking of tires, okay, we talked about this last week, and we gave some props to the WISSOTA board members, specifically Todd Good and Tom Wagaman, on getting the best deal possible for the WISSOTA racers, right? And I've had a lot of people reach out and they're like, boy, they did so much better. I mean, boy, the UMP prices, and I've said this, the UMP prices are, $200 a tire at the track. They're way higher. And boy, what if we would have had those? Now, I believe, and I don't know this for sure, I think Hoosier was doing everything they could to try to get the numbers up there with UMP. I think they were trying to stiff arm WISSOTA into that, and the board member says, no. Okay, they did a really good job at holding down the fort and doing the best they could. But if I got to thinking about this in a conversation I had, guys, do you know why UMP tires cost so much? Do you know why they cost so much? So who owns, Bert, do you know who owns Dirt Car UMP? Do you know who owns them?
I do not.
World Racing Group.
Okay.
They also own World of Outlaw late models, World of Outlaw sprint cars, Super Dirt Car Series, Volusia Speedway, Dirt Vision. They own all this stuff, right? Okay, so I don't know the exact numbers, but I do know this. So the tires, the late model tires, are essentially, they got the late model tires are 1, 2, 3, 4, and I believe the WISSOTA tire is essentially a 3, but it's rebranded WISSOTA whatever, right? So did you know that the World of Outlaw drivers, part of their contract, if you sign on as a World of Outlaw driver, late model and sprint car, part of that deal is you get your tires at half price of what a typical customer pays? Did you know that? So people like Brent Larson, Bobby Pierce, and all them, they pay half, right? Now I talked to some people, and Kraus, you were there, but Don Shaw had a show at I-94, and from what I understand, he was trying to pick up some tires for Cody Overton. He knows Cody and is going to try to just pick up some tires. Couldn't get the same price. He had to pay the full retail and couldn't get the same price Cody Overton as a what are they called? I know, not a licensed driver, but they signed that deal, right? They signed that deal at the beginning of the year, and I got to thinking about it, and it's like, do you think that there's a pretty good chance that World Racing Group said, look, here's the deal. You give all of our signed on drivers with World of Outlaw late models and sprint cars the tires at half price, and the Super Dirt Car Series, their tires are half price, okay? But in because of that, we'll live with you upcharging the local guys a little bit, basically to pay for all the national touring guys. Guys, that's what's happening. Okay. The national touring guys are getting a significant deal, half price And who's paying for that? The people that are paying for that are the local drivers that are on a budget racing Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, and that is bullshit. Okay, so that's why their tires are so out of hand. So where I'm going with this is the grass is not always greener, right? We said, oh man, UMP, that's a better deal, or IMCA is a better deal. I'm here to tell you that I truly don't believe, and I've seen some of the stuff that's happened in the UMP world. I live in Illinois, right? They don't give two shits about the weekly racer in UMP. They care about the national touring guys, and this tire contract is a specific deal. WISSOTA, they don't have a national touring deal. That would be like WISSOTA being, hey, the guys that sign on to the Challenge Series, they get the tires at half price. Can you imagine, Kraus, how pissed off people would be if that happened? Can you imagine? Holy shit. Bert, you ever wonder why, like when the World of Outlaws come to like certain regions, why the car counts are so down and they don't sometimes have all the support that they could possibly get? Well, them guys are getting tires at freaking half price, right? And all these other guys got to go buy tires at full retail. So the grass is not always greener. I'm just gonna say that right now. But Kraus, you think I'm off base there, or what do you think?
No, you're 100% right. With that tire deal. The money's obviously it's ass backwards, is what it is. Because at the end of the day, I mean, so to speak, your thousands and thousands of local racers are supporting Hoosier and Ump, you know, not your 12 to 14 national touring guys that sign a contract and say, hey, here you go. So yeah, like you said, props to Hoosier for doing that. And it's you know, people are always saying this and that. Well, I'm gonna pull a hot Carl here and watch your own bobber, right? And WISSOTA did that, and I'm glad they did that. So there's definitely, see tire prices like that, there's obviously something going on.
Yeah, 100%. So here's a question. You were at the meetings, Kraus, and from what I understand, they got a new connecting rod. I had somebody reach out, and they said the super stocks have a new approved connecting rod. I don't know. They must have needed a new one. There's a lot of back order issues or whatever. And then they're like, why on earth did they pick this rod? From what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, they're almost double in price, and there's a national back order on that rod. That much I know for sure. So the rod that they just approved for WISSOTA Superstocks, there's a national back. You can't even get it. There's a national back order on it, right? And I was told they're like $850 a set, as compared to roughly $450, $500 for a set of what was currently being ran. Have you heard any details on that?
I haven't. I did hear they were a little bit more expensive, but they're also supposedly supposed to be a 10-year rod, a little bit more indestructible. So if you take your throwaway rods, basically what we have now, not so much the Chevy pink rods that we used to run. These Scat ones are a little bit better, but you're still, when you're refreshing them, the first thing these engine builders are doing is they're chucking them in the garbage. Because they're just so cheap. It's just cheap. It's cheaper to put in new rods. So the price is the price. I was completely unaware about the national back order. I had talked to two engine builders, and they both confirmed that they are basically impossible to get right now, and they are basically on a national back order. Manly does not sell to anybody except for distributors. So unless you have a Manly distributor, I can sell Manly rods in your back pocket card. You're not going to be able to get them from them. So a little bit of an issue. I started digging and started stirring. I did not get to the point where I was going to contact the tech committee and confirm. I have not got to that point. I am going to do that. But like I said, I wanted to touch base with engine builders first. I obviously did my research online and to see if you can get them, and they were basically right. So something we need to dig into. And who knows? I would assume that they would have done their homework on this deal. And like I said, the price is the price. If I'm spending $400 a year over 10 years, you do the math, that's $4,000. And I'm spending $800 once, that's $3,200 I save over 10 years. Okay, that's a big difference. Okay. So the price is the price, but the national back order deal, that's a big issue right now.
Yeah. So another question for you to ask them, and this came from multiple people. They said, why not just go to a weight rule on the rods? Okay. They're not teching them really anyway. They might pull the sight plug out or whatever. And I guess that's why they went to a specific rod. But why not just go to a weight? There's a lot of different options out there. If the rod is under a certain weight, you have your specs, 5.7 rod or whatever, right? If it's under a certain weight, it's legal, right? Why not just simplify it and just let nature take its course? Because I mean, if the rod literally has to be under it has to be at least a certain weight. Well, then there's no reason to go spend $1,500, for example, on a set of rods. Like, why would you do that when you get the same rod for $500-600? So, or the same weight rod. So ask them why not just have a weight rule in the rod versus having these specific rods that you have to run, especially when they're on back order. Another thing, so speaking of doing their research, and I had a couple people reach out and they're like, okay, so crate deal. So Bert, the crates are being tested now in Wissota this year. And they have crates. You can run a crate motor and a B mod and such. But now they're going to put a 602 crate motor. 3 drivers, I believe, are going to be drawn out and are going to be able to run a 602 crate motor. And I don't know all the specifics of this in a Wissota pure stock. Now, a Wissota pure stock runs a 305 engine. 305. Okay, not a 350, a 305. A 602 crate engine, guys, is what they run in a Wissota Midwest mod, which is essentially very similar to a super stock engine, just a little less because of the compression. And I had engine builders that were furious. They're like, this is absolutely just bullshit. This ain't gonna work. This is stupid. Like, why are they doing this? Now, I understand, right, that they might be putting a restrictor and there's some different things they might do to try to get them a little closer. But let's go one step further. They're also looking at, and they're going to do the same thing, 604 crate in a Wissota super stock. Now, 604 crate is essentially, this one makes no sense to me whatsoever, because guys, a 604 crate is what they run in an IMCA mod. A 602 crate is what they run in a Wissota Midwest mod, and it's very competitive with the concept engine and the open motor in the B mods right now. Okay. Well, that's essentially very close to the same engine as a super. Why not do the 602 in a super versus a 604? That makes no sense whatsoever at all, like zero. But here's where it makes even less sense. Word on the street says General Motors is no longer sponsoring. The money ran out for IMCA and Wissota, and the performance side of GM, the money that's going into all GM dealerships around the country, the performance, the backing there has dwindled down. That they're really scaling back on the sponsorships. It was almost $1 million to IMCA, just under $1 million in 2024, because there's a lot of IMCA classes and that run crates and a lot of cars and whatnot, so it makes sense. The other word on the street is they're actually, a lot of people believe that GM is actually looking to phase out the crate motor program altogether. Like there's people that I talked to that are very credible. They didn't want to be named, and they said, look, we've done our research, we've talked to people, and we believe that in a 2-3 year span, they're going to be done dealing with the crate deal is going to be done. GM is belly aching saying they're not making any money. Who knows what to believe there, right? But they said they're not making any money with this crate engine program. That's not a very profitable endeavor for them. So is the timing here? It's like, is it just a waste of time even having this test deal with the crates, being that they scaled back on their money back to racetracks and GM dealerships, and they're looking at phasing this out? Should Wissota be in contact with GM, which who knows if they would tell Wissota the truth, right? Because they probably want to get rid of whatever inventory they have. But if there's no money there, should they be kind of taking a step back and going, wait a second here? Okay. If this is going to happen, there's no sense whatsoever in having this test program for the crates. Let's go a completely different direction. You guys' thoughts on this?
Well, obviously, if GM is phasing out the crates, it does seem to be very bad timing to be doing this testing if there's not going to be crates available in a couple of years.
Mhm.
So
And
I will clear up one thing, Ryan. The idea to test the crates happened before any of this GM performance stuff came out. Okay, so it's not like they knew this and then say we're still testing. And they said that right at the meetings because Mike Jordet, he got up there. He's going to know, and he said Chevy Performance has cut out a ton of money, and they think they're completely phasing out the program. Now they already had this test, and Billy said it, and the committee said it. We had already planned on this before this had happened, so they are going to rethink that. And they already had it printed in their notes, and they didn't know any of this. The tech committee did not know any of this stuff about GM. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
so with that said, and I believe that to be true, but with that said, they're drawing out 3 drivers in each of these classes. So nobody actually went out and bought these engines yet. They don't have them yet. So before drawing this out and saying, "Hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to move forward with this," do you think they should idle that back and be like, "We better hold off on this altogether"? There is no sense because the drivers have to buy these engines at their own expense. They have to buy them. That don't come out of Wasota's pocket. So can you imagine being a driver that you go out and buy this engine and you're part of this test program, and then you find out next year that they're phasing it out and it's not going to happen? Now you got to throw that engine away. It ain't good for shit. You're going to put in a street rod or whatever you're going to do. You're not even able to race it. So they, now that they have this, now they should, before they decide to allow 3 people to do this in each class, my opinion is they should say, look, let's dig a little further. Let's wait till let's take a month here, wait till after the first of the year, decide then. But based on the little bit of knowledge that I have on this, and the research that I did, minimal, right? They probably should hold off a little bit. They should probably wait a little bit. And I think drivers that are looking at doing this crate program, they might want to think long and hard. Is this something that even makes sense to be part of if they're going to be phasing this deal out? So do your research. If you're one of the drivers out there and you're thinking, you know what, I think I might want to be one of the test drivers here, do a little research before you go spend that money. Because if you're going to go spend that money to have something that's not usable, that don't make much sense, and I'd hate to see somebody spend money that doesn't need to be spent. So trying to help you out a little bit. Late model silly season, guys, a lot of stuff going on. Now let's face it, right? The racing off season is non-existent. It's like 2 freaking weeks. I mean, you got Gateway Dirt Nationals literally about a week away, the week after Thanksgiving, first week of December. Then essentially you got what, 3 weeks off, and you go to the Wild West Shootout in Vado. So that's it. You literally got like a couple 3 weeks. But there's some stuff happening. So Mad Max McLaughlin announced he's going to be driving for Nice Racing in 2025. Do you remember anything, guys, about Nice Racing? Does that name ring a bell?
Yeah, Ty Majeski raced for Nice Racing in the NASCAR Truck Series.
Who else, Bert, raced for Nice Racing in the Truck Series at Knoxville because of their performance at the Gateway Dirt Nationals?
Oh, Tyler Carpenter.
Yep, that was the guy Tyler Carpenter drove for. So now they're kind of delving into the dirt late model scene. Drake Troutman going to be partnering up with G.R. Smith. Saw a lot of stuff. I kind of read the announcement there, and then I read the comments below it. And holy shit, there's a lot of people going, "Oh man, poor Drake." It's like, poor Drake. I think Jonathan Davenport kind of started out. I think he drove for GR Smith at one point too.
He,
But
yeah, Davenport won the World 100 one year racing for GR Smith. I actually I was a freelance writer for Dirt Late Model magazine at the time, and I actually interviewed GR Smith at that World 100 weekend. Had a great conversation with him. Talked to him for probably 40 minutes about Davenport getting in the car and that sort of thing.
yeah, hopefully it's a good fit. I think Drake Troutman's a very good young talent.
Well,
Of course, lost his dad, remember, a couple years back too, at a very young age.
and then it was the following spring. Brian Shirley raced for GR Smith, and that lasted the month of February, and that was about it.
I think that's the concern. There seems to be a lot of people that drive for old GR there, and I don't never met the guy, right? But it seems like it's kind of a not for long type of deal. Like there's a lot of maybe volatility there, but hopefully it works out for Drake. He deserves to have a good opportunity here. Ashton Winger, I forgot to look this up. Kraus, are you on the computer or on your phone?
I'm on my phone.
Okay, so Ashton Winger debuted his Fusion chassis, and I don't know much about it. How did he run? I don't think he ran in the top 10 either night, did he, at Sonoya? Maybe he did. Maybe
I think he was. Did he DNF'd one night? Remember he was
probably the
coasting.
first
Did
night.
he get a flat?
I think he
I don't
might.
know
Yeah,
what
he
he
did. Yeah,
DNF'd or
that was
broke.
a second night. That was a second night. I
Yeah.
think he got a flat for sure. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, Bert might be looking it up there, but Ashton Winger debuted the Fusion chassis. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more digging on this. Everything's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. So, but I believe so. Gary Winger, his dad, has been heavily involved with racing. He does shocks for a lot of people, so they're pretty hands-on engineering mindset. So it kind of made sense that they started doing their own chassis deal down there. So good luck to them on that. Logan Seavey, of course, I think back-to-back winner of the Chili Bowl. He's looking to he ran a couple shows in a late model, actually looked pretty good a couple nights he was out there too. He announced he's going to expand his dirt late model schedule in 2025. So it's going to be fun to see Logan Seavey a little bit more in a fender car coming up. And then Bert, I think, probably went to look what Ashton Winger did. Lucas Oil MLRA, that series. So we had that announcement come out, and a regional series kind of based out of Missouri. They got a couple shows up into Iowa, I think maybe in Illinois, mostly Missouri. But the announcement made that series will not be in force in 2025. Your guys' thoughts on the MLRA series being done? Are we going to see more regional series fall? Do you guys think that maybe somebody's going to take that one over? Kind of a surprise. That's what Chad Simpson, Chris Simpson, Dylan McCown, they raced that. And let's face it, Forrest Lucas, his health ain't good. He put money into every aspect of dirt racing he possibly could. And as the kids are running Lucas Oil, they basically are kind of scaling back. So I kind of saw this happening. I didn't know what wheels would fall off first, but looks like that one might be gone. You guys' thoughts?
Well, actually, I never understood what the purpose of the MLRA series was. Just because there's so many other series and there were a limited number of drivers who followed that series. I mean, you never want to see a series disappear. But it'll be interesting to see where those drivers go race now.
Yeah, and it's kind of a weird deal, right? Because there is a lot. We watch a lot, and it seems like there's a ton because they're all on streaming. But I mean, when you look at like the Mars series, that's
Right.
Illinois based, right? That's Illinois, couple in Iowa or whatever, but it's Illinois based. This is Missouri based. This is no different like the and Wissota has the Challenge series, and then they have the NLRA up in that specific region. This is a regional series, so I mean, it'll be interesting to see. One of two things could happen. Either A, right? Some of these drivers say, we're going to start looking at different things, to follow, or maybe somebody steps in, rebrands it, continues on with the series, they get a new sponsor. I could see something like that happening as well. Kraus?
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they're just saying it's too much. Maybe we want to try to get more of these guys that are regular Lucas Oil shows. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's kind of, not to call it a JV series, but it kind of is. You know what I mean? It's not. It's just a different series. You kind of explained it well with the Challenge series, the NLRA, kind of deal. But who knows? I don't know. Maybe they're cutting back. Sponsorship money could be an issue there too. Just cutting back on some things, and maybe they think there's too much. There's too many series, and there's too much stuff going on right now. We want to try to get more of these household guys to race some of our bigger shows. So I don't think anybody's going to take the series over. They're not just going to cancel the series and say you guys are done. They got stuff planned for those guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna save that. I might talk more about that in a minute here. Locally. Oh, go ahead, Bert.
I was just gonna say, Ashton Winger finished 13th on Friday, 25th on Saturday, but it was a DNF both nights.
Oh, yeah, because I know over half the field pulled off on
Yeah.
night number 1. So yeah, I guess I mean, and that's his home track too, Sonoya. So I thought maybe he'd run well down there, but I guess we'll have to wait to see how that Fusion chassis looks moving forward. Locally, Andrew in go ahead, Cross.
Hey, maybe, bringing up this Fusion chassis deal, Ryan, I think these guys are looking to save some money and doing their own thing. I like, you walk into Longhorn and Rocket right now, like, you better have a big checkbook. And I think some of these lower budget teams are going, we can't do it. We better come up with something else. And now all of a sudden you're getting some more chassis builders coming out and doing something. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's more and if some of these other guys are going to jump ship and try to find something a little cheaper.
Well, you're spot on. We can talk about this in just a second too, because I do have one of the bold predictions come off the board. But right now, it's seemingly right. All your top tier, the lion's share of the national late model guys are in Longhorns. Rockets, just a handful, right? But like you said, you got the Fusion, you got the BMF chassis that Hedgecock has, you have the Infinity by Wells, right? So there's a lot of different things happening there. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, you look at USMTS racing, and we talked about this on many shows throughout the year. It's like another chassis builder won and another chassis builder won. So in mod racing, it's not a thing. There's not a dominant chassis out there in modifieds. There's just not. And I don't believe that there's such thing as a dominant chassis in late model. Steve Arpin's a hell of a marketing guy. And don't get me wrong, Longhorn's a good piece. They win a lot of races. But I gotta send that to voicemail. Somebody trying to call me. But with that said, I don't know that the chassis is necessarily the end all be all here. I remember Jimmy Owens saying chassis is literally just a bunch of tubing, holds all the points together, and and it's what you do with it that makes it work. And he said the chassis is going to talk to you. You just got to listen. And let's face it, a lot of these Longhorns and such, they're built so light, you can only run them 15, 18 shows. You throw them away. That ain't a good deal, especially for weekend warriors. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, hell, the Kryptonite cars are good. Capitals are good. I mean, there's a lot of cars out there. It's going to be interesting to see moving forward if there becomes more parity in the dirt late model world as far as the chassis go. Locally, Andrew Inman had a hell of a rookie year in the modified. Sounds like he's going to do double duty. Looks like he's going to be running a late model for KME, one of the KME drivers this year. Congratulations. Good luck to him. And another track, here's one. I don't know if you guys saw this. Batesville Motor Speedway. So Mooney and Connie Starr have been longtime owners, been around that place for a long time. They did a Facebook Live. That place is for sale. They're like, we're done. We want to do other things. And now they did put something out here a couple days ago that said nobody's bought it yet. If nobody buys it, we will be back in 2025. But if you're looking to buy a racetrack, Batesville is for sale, and looks like they want to go on to do other things, but they also want to make sure somebody buys it that keeps the place going. So keep an eye on what's going on down at Batesville. Sprint car silly season, really quick here, a couple things. All-Star Circuit of Champions, they did not race this past year. They're back in action for 2025, kind of an Ohio, Pennsylvania based deal. Their focal point going to be the Ohio Speed Weeks, it sounds like. High Limit going to be running some shows, $100,000 to win down under. Brenham Crouch, you guys have heard that name. He's actually going to replace Spencer Baston in the CJB. He's in the CJB ride. Spencer Baston going to Jason Myers Racing. That, of course, is who Corey Day drove for. Corey Day is still going to run a limited schedule around his truck. He's going to run NASCAR Truck Series, but the main driver is going to be Baston going to High Limits. Ryan Tim's going to be the Liebig Motorsports ride, replacing Scott Bogucki. Kraus, did you pick Scott Bogucki in our draft? I think you did.
In Knoxville, yes, I did.
Yeah,
yes.
Yep, I thought you did. And then the biggest news, though, in buggy racing is Christopher Bell has been basically parked, right? He hasn't been able to race dirt for quite a while now. Sounds like Joe Gibbs Racing has given Christopher Bell the green light to go dirt track racing in 2025. So if you're a dirt fan, that is a good thing, because he is a very talented midget, non-winged sprint car driver, 410 guy. He's another. I mean, is he possibly another Kyle Larson?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
100% he is. There's no doubt about it. And this is they should let him go out there, because he's going to bring more sponsors to his name and more sponsors to Gibbs at the end of the day. That's what's going to go on here. So great to see another Cup guy out there.
Yeah, so if you're a NASCAR guy, right? If you're a big Kyle Larson fan, folks, we got another one. I'm excited. I am genuinely excited to have Christopher Bell racing dirt. That kid is massively talented, and I mean, could we see him running some high limit stuff? Who knows? Who knows what his schedule is going to be like? But I can assure you this: when he gets in a dirt car, he is going to be competitive. So that is another driver to watch in 2025. Guys, how about a little bit more XR news? A little bit more, not the bang on old Barry here. We're not going to do that, right? But how about a little XR news? So, like him or not, right? He's very polarizing. There's some people they love Barry. There's some people that absolutely hate the guy, and he's a very polarizing guy. Okay, like him or not, is it fair to say, we talked about this last week, right? Is it fair to say that some of the stuff he did in 21 with all these big money shows kind of changed the landscape, created some bigger paying shows, took some money out of the pockets of World Racing Group and Lucas Oil? Would you say that he had a big part in some of that happening? Is that fair?
That's fair.
Like it or not, Barry Braun is now responsible for not one but two six-figure to win or higher modified races. Now, keep in mind, last year, of course, he brought out the big deal at Mississippi Thunder, but they moved that race. Mutually made the decision. Mississippi Thunder, Barry Braun, I don't know the whole ordeal there, but they parted ways, right? The big deal going to go to Ogilvy. Ogilvy is going to host the big deal. I think it's $125,000 to win for modifieds. It's the Onum rules, right? Kind of UMP, WSOTA, USMTS, USRA, so on and so forth. Okay. Guys, they scheduled it though on top of the Prairie Dirt Classic. Unbelievable. So, Bert, you're a race fan. I would consider you a very diehard race fan. On a scale of 1 to 10, the big deal mod race at Mississippi Thunder, knowing that the top tier late model drivers in the country were going to be part of that race, how much, 1 being it didn't mean shit, 10 being like that got my attention way more, where did that kind of fit in, knowing that you were going to see the top mod drivers in the country, the top late model guys in the country in modifieds going head to head for 100 grand?
I would give it an 8 or a 9.
Coach?
Well, it's definitely a 10. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
That's what you want. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, and I would agree. So, might have a bold prediction on this one. I can see maybe the date changing, possibly, right? But if it doesn't, if that date stands, is that going to be a big hit to the fan count? Is there going to be a lot of fans going, yeah, but there's no Pierce, there's no RTJ, there's no Cade Dillard. I mean, there's going to be less drivers there. I was very surprised. Let's just say that, to see them schedule it. And I get it. There's only so many dates available, but that's a date right there that is like, that one didn't make much sense. So when that was announced, go ahead, Bert.
Well, I have a question. Now the Prairie Dirt Classic, is that an outlaw race?
It is.
Yeah. I mean, RTJ and Lucas, would he go try to get 125,000 rather than race the Prairie Dirt Classic? No?
No chance. No
Okay.
chance. Yeah. The PDC is, in my opinion, one of the top 10 national dirt late model events in the country. You can put it anywhere in that mix, wherever you feel like, but it is one of the true crown jewels in dirt late models that And when I define Crown Jewel, it's like World of Outlaws is running that show, and Lucas looks at the schedule and says, "We ain't even fucking with that date. We're not running against it," because their guys want to go to that race also, right? So I don't see it. So we'll see. There might be more to come on that. But the day after this announcement happens, Mississippi Thunder comes on and they announce the big deal has been moved, but they've replaced it with the Modified World Championship, and that is going to be May 28th to May 31st. And I looked, there's no World of Outlaw late models, no Lucas Oil late models that weekend. They're off that weekend. Okay. 100 grand to win, and a partnership with Flow Racing. Now that race is going to be on Flow Racing and on Racing Dirt, because of course Trenton Berry involved pretty heavily over there as well. So that race right there, whether you like Barry Braun or not, okay, whether you like him or not, there is 2 races because of Barry Braun. Period. Because if that race was going to still happen at Mississippi Thunder, which the big deal, which Barry Braun brought to the forefront anyway, there was only going to be 1. But because of everything that happened, them parting ways, now there's 2 because they wanted to keep it going. So Barry Braun, he's putting his stamp on things, whether things are going good, going bad, it just is what it is. He's making money, get in the pockets of racers, eventually, eventually for some, right? Another thing, couple interesting things that happened. So Duck River, so the final XR Super Series late model event of the year scheduled for this coming weekend at Duck River in, I think, Shelbyville, Tennessee, I think is where that is. And that was supposed to be the final race of the year for XR. Well, literally Duck River jumps on about 4 or 5 days ago or so, and they said there is going to be a streamlined payout procedure for this race. You are getting paid, and they had a whole long ordeal of you're getting paid at the race. This is going to happen. If there's tire testing, we'll hold yours specifically, but everybody else is getting paid, and they had it all drawn out. Kraus, in your lifetime, have you ever seen anybody put a press release out? There is going to be a payout procedure. So that was a knee-jerk reaction to what happened. But literally the next day or 2 days later, XR announces, well, the weather looks a little shaky, going to be a little cold. We're going to go ahead and just cancel that one. And Duck River decide, which I call bullshit. I think there's just no interest in any of the national guys going there. But they decide, hey, we're still going to have this race. No longer going to be 15 grand to win. It's going to be 6 grand to win. So you'll still have a pretty good regional contingent there. But so that all happened. And then another thing that happened, never seen anything like this either. So most of the XR races, FYE shows, you have paid parking in the pits. Okay. Fucking hate it. Drives me nuts. Okay. But 604 Nationals, there's a press release out. Free pit parking. If you've already paid for your pit parking spot, you will be reimbursed, and check will be in the mail within 14 days, blah, blah, blah. That literally came out, guys, right after the whole Peyton Taylor, right? Facebook live video or whatever. I don't believe the 604 Nationals was going to be free parking without Peyton Taylor kind of rocking the boat a little bit. So, like him or not, right? Some people are like, oh, he shouldn't have gone Facebook live with that. That was tacky. Well, I got to be honest. There's a few things that have kind of happened as a result of that. So that's their deal. I don't know all the particulars, but let's just face it. The 604 Nationals, they were not going to get rid of they were not going to get rid of pit parking being paid for without that Facebook live video. Would you agree to that, Kraus?
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's just a lot of drivers that finally got sick of these promoters nickel and diamond to death. 4-wheeler fees and credit cards to go on your porta potties to go to the bathroom and pit parking fees. And drivers just got sick of it and they finally got called out. Now some of these promoters are just going to stop doing it. So kudos to all those guys for finally putting their foot down and say, you're nickel and diming us to death. We can't afford it. We're not coming to your shows. Stop charging us for stupid shit.
So with SOTA board members, because I do know a few of you listen, take notes. I want you to write this down right now. The WISSOTA 100 has gotten out of hand. The WISSOTA 100 has a fee for this, a fee for that, a fee for this, a fee for that. Look at what's going on here and how the racing world, not just Ryan and Coach and Bert on our podcast talking about it. Look at all the stuff that's happening across the landscape of dirt racing and how many drivers are vocally frustrated with all these added fees and all this stuff, okay? Look it up yourself. Do your own research and look at that for the 2025 WISSOTA 100. We don't need these draw fees. We don't need pit parking fees. We don't need all that stuff can go by the wayside. It can disappear, right? And I'll tell you right now, I will personally put in, okay? Any WISSOTA board member that's listening, you call me out on it. If you get rid of all these nonsense fees that you have, and we can make a list of them at some point, I personally will be the first one to add $500 to the WISSOTA 100 personally for 2025 if you get rid of all these fees. And I would be willing to bet you could find a few other sponsors to offset that so-called additional revenue that's coming out of the pocketbooks of the racers. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I will be the first one to step up and help this shit disappear because it needs to be gone. Speaking of Mississippi Thunder, guys, did you guys happen to watch? So they do a Facebook Live. So Tyrone and of course Bob Tim, they do Facebook Lives pretty regularly for Mississippi Thunder. A lot of they put a lot of information out there. You guys ever get a chance to watch any of their Facebook Lives?
I've watched some of them.
Go back and watch this most recent one. It's pretty interesting. So did you happen to see their weekly pay for 2025? Kraus, did you see that?
No, I did not see that.
Holy shit. It is unbelievable. It's $1,500 to win for mods weekly. $1,500 to win. Right? I think it's $800 to win for B mods. I mean, we're talking real money. And they went on and they explained, they're like, look, not every track can do this. They like that would bankrupt the Viking Speedway, I'm guessing. That would definitely bankrupt Hibbing and Rapids and Proctor. Most tracks can't do that. They have expendable income that they can use, and they did a very good job of explaining, like, A, here's why we can do this, and B, don't expect every track. Don't be mad at your local track if they don't, because some don't have the resources. So they were very diplomatic. But then they said this. They said, WISSOTA guys, you're more than welcome to race down here. You can race at our racetrack, okay? In 2025, WISSOTA modifieds can race at Mississippi Thunder without changing anything. Tires, anything. WISSOTA Midwest mods can run down there. They just got to take their spoiler off. They're like, come on down. If you want to race at our racetrack, come on down. Furthermore, they announced they're going to have a Northern Lights mod tour, and that's put on by Racing Dirt, and all the details are going to come out on that. And they said same thing there. This tour and their goal, now get this is super cool. Their goal is to have this at, of course, some of the USRA tracks, but they also want other WISSOTA tracks to schedule some of these Northern Lights mod tour events. They want these events to be at USRA and at WISSOTA tracks. The rules they're going with are the ONAM modified rules. Again, Barry Braun made this happen. Plain and simple, right? Because can you name another series promoter, anything out there that said, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to try to figure out how to make WISSOTA, USRA, UMP. They did it out at Vegas, right? They did it. We're going to try to figure out a way to make all these classes, these mod classes, compete at the same venue at the same time. Nobody else is doing that. Barry is the first guy that made that happen. And now you have a series that is adopting those rules. You have a track that said, hey, we're basically going to run those rules at our track. Come on down. Could this be the beginning of, I mean, maybe even like another step in the process of unifying specifically the WISSOTA and USRA? They're very close already. USRA mods and WISSOTA mods can coexist. They can run together. They're very, very close. Is this another step in making that rules package to where it is literally one and the same across the board?
It appears like that's the direction that it's going, and it's good for the sport if you can get more of the mod drivers to compete against each other, because that's what fans want to see. I mean, they want to see the best of the best compete against each other.
I'm here to tell you right now, I want to see Shane Sobraski, Tyler Peterson, Buzzy Adams, Dusty Bitts, and Brady Gertis racing against Brandon Davis, Joe Chisholm, Jim Chisholm, Lucas Schott. I want to see that. Now, in a perfect world, right? In a perfect world, everybody was WISSOTA, because back in the day, Mississippi Thunder, Deer Creek, they were all WISSOTA. That would have been the case. They're not anymore. But this is a step in a direction where this could become a reality, where you're seeing some of these top tier drivers competing against each other. I'm excited for it. I'm telling you what, there's a lot of people that are doing some pretty good things in racing, but that group down at Mississippi Thunder is doing some really, really cool shit. And I know they parted ways with Barry, but I'll be the first to say it. This shit started with Barry Braun having a vision to start making this happen. A lot of us have talked about it, right? But Barry Braun made a decision to be like, look, I'm going to try to take some action steps to make everybody what they're talking about a reality. So there's a tip of the cap to old Barry Braun on that one, because I think he's personally responsible for the first steps in implementing this. It'll be interesting to see how that works in 2025. Coach, as a promoter at Viking Speedway, would you be interested, if Trent and Barry said, hey, let's have one of these shows at your track? How cool would it be to have your top tier mod guys? You got a pretty stacked field of mods weekly at Viking. You got some really good race cars there. And now you take in some of these other guys that are USRA based. How cool would it be to have a show like that at the Viking Speedway?
Yeah, 100%. You hit the nail on the head, Ryan. You remember back in the day I remember used to sitting in the stands. Oh my gosh, Ron Jones is at Viking Speedway. You know what I mean? Now you get to see him race against Scott Danzizen and see who's going to be better. Oh, Rick Auckland just pulled into town. You know what I mean? You don't have that anymore. We have to get back to that. That's you're 100% right about that deal. Like I said, it's back in the day we couldn't go in the pits, Bert, because if you weren't 16 or 18, you couldn't go in the pits. Now they let anybody in the pits. We were sitting in the stands up until we were 16 or 18, especially at Viking. You weren't getting in the pits because everybody pitted on the inside. So, yeah, you're 100% right. And, it's crazy. The fans in Viking, Ryan, they said, hey, bring the late models back, bring the Challenge Series back. Is Doran Canta coming? That's the first thing they say. They want to see, and back when we had late models, they wanted to see Doran Canta and those guys compete against Zach Johnson and Shaw and Weiss and Wilding and Jeff Hinkelmeyer. I was fortunate enough to have very, very good cars at Viking. Everybody wanted to see. It was Doran Canta, are they coming? So we definitely need to do something to get that back to where, hey, travelers are meaningful again at tracks.
Bert, I'm going to ask you this. So you have 141 is kind of in your area. I mean, how far are you from? A couple hours away?
Oh, hour and 20 minutes.
Okay. So they have, what is it? The Clash at the Creek is their big mod show, right? And
Yep.
and you've seen drivers there from all over the country, because that's what IMCA has to offer, because it's a national deal. It's all over the country, right?
Well,
how much do you like that?
Oh, I love that. I mean, at that race, I would cover that race for Dirt Modified magazine. I was a freelance writer for them. So I got to interview a lot of drivers. I've interviewed RTJ race there. Well, he won it 3 years in a row. I've interviewed Dylan Thornton, Ethan Dotson, drivers who are names that people recognize now. I interviewed them at that race because they raced at the Clash at the Creek.
This series right here, guys, has the potential to grow into something to where a Viking Speedway and I-94 has a Friday, Saturday deal, right, for this series. And you got your top WISSOTA guys, USRA guys, you got people from Texas and Missouri and Arkansas and states that you've never had racers ever come up, because there's not WISSOTA down there. And this is not a bang on WISSOTA. Some of the old ideals of WISSOTA was, well, we got to kind of keep our rules separate because we don't want our drivers going a separate way and whatever. But the real way to look at this, WISSOTA is an organization that is supposed to be for the betterment of the member racetracks, okay? And what is possibly better for the racetracks than that when you do have a special event, you can draw not only your best area cars, but some of the best area cars from all over the country. That's a true special event. As a fan, I am jacked up to see what this series has to offer. And I'll tell you what, it's there'll be more to come. It'll definitely be something we keep everybody in the loop on, and I'm gonna probably reach out to Trenton here and kind of see what his vision with this deal is. But that'll be something fun to look forward to. I do have a couple fan questions, but I'm looking at a couple of these, and guys, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of put a couple of these fan questions on the back burner, because when we get into middle of December, there's far less racing to talk about. There's a couple pretty cool things. Like, one of the questions is, what was your top 3 favorite events of 2024? Could be local, could be national. What 3 events stuck out to you? That's something you guys just go ahead and think about that. We're gonna have that on another show. Another one, there was a Jackson Braun, of course, Barry's kid, put out a deal talking about passing points and what would you do, different formats and all that. And that spurred some other questions. What lineup systems do you think are best for special events? We're gonna back burner that. We'll talk about that in the weeks to come when there's less content. Okay, so that'll be a couple things. So the fans that sent those in, not forgetting about you, but we're gonna put that into where we need a little bit more filler is what we're gonna do. So let's get into our 2024 pick'ems here, brought to you by Brad Parson. Brad Parson Soil and Ag Solutions. So if you're in Western Minnesota, the Dakotas, you're in the farming industry, you want to be more profitable, you want higher yields, guys, that comes down to having the right stuff in your spray packages. And who better to call than Brad Parson at 320-219-3542. We have friends of the show that have sent us testimonials and said, look, we use their products on a certain portion of our land, and we are very, very happy with the results, and they're looking at spreading that out to their whole portion for 2025. So I don't know shit about farming. Okay. I just don't. Brad does. Give Brad a call. He's a racer. He's part of the racing community. Why not see what he has to say? That's 320-219-3542. So him, myself at Impact Health Sharing, Worker B Kent, and Matt from Amsoil, we kind of lumped some money together, and the winner of our pick'ems, which is coming down to the end, the 604 Nationals will be the final event on the pick'ems for 2024, just a few weeks away. The winner is going to get to pick a car or cars if they choose, and that money is going to be a sponsorship from the One to Go show and those sponsors to a specific driver for 2025. Kind of cool to be able to give back to the racing community a little bit. Leading the way right now, our reigning champ. So Bert, you won back-to-back years to get this party started. Curtis, he's actually won it last year. He's looking to go back-to-back. Coach, I just got to tell you, we got to get this fucking championship out of the state of Wisconsin. Okay, this shit can't happen. Okay, this can't happen. It's not a thing. It's got to come to Minnesota. And Curtis leading at 456. He was +5 last week. We didn't have a lot of races, but he was +5. Changa 447. He got 1 point last week, so he kind of lost 4 points on him, widen out the gap. But I'm 441, guys. I had a big goose egg last week. Goose egg. Bert +12. Literally, there was one person +5. Nobody else had more than that. Bert was +12. It's like, the fuck did he submit his picks? You cheating again, Bert?
I did not cheat.
Did you submit your picks after these races
No.
happened, or I don't know. I'm a little skeptical here. All right, so you're at 383. You're in fourth. You're 5 points ahead of Uper. Dano at 369. Worker B 364. Coach at 361. 1 point ahead of your protege there, Man Bun Dan. You can't be losing to him. And Bromance at 323 and Beefcake at 281. So this week we got 5 events that we're picking. 3 of them in the USAC National Midget Series. Tonight, we're doing the show Wednesday. Race probably already happened. I don't know, but there's 3 races. Went tonight, Wednesday, Thunderbolt, Tulare, California. Friday at Merced, Saturday at Merced. So, Coach, who did you pick, Bert? You go second, I'll go third. Coach, who do you have for the 3 midget races?
I took Cannon McIntosh for all 3.
Cannonball McIntosh. All right, Bert.
I took CV for all 3.
Logan CV times 3. So for those keeping track and following the championship battle here, Curtis took Buddy Kofoid, Logan CV, and Kyle Larson. That's who he took those 3 nights. And Changa took the point leader of this series, Dason Persley times 3. I took Buddy Kofoid the first 2 nights and Kyle Larson Saturday night at Merced. All right. The Rudiman, the what is it, Dale and Emo Rudiman Memorial, which is of course Buzzy, the Rudiman family. Buzzy Rudiman, of course, David Rudiman was a Domino's pizza guy. Well, okay, NASCAR guy sponsored by Domino's. Fair enough. So Rudiman Memorial, 10,000 to win, UMP Modifieds at Volusia Saturday night on Dirt Vision. Coach.
I took David Stremme.
David Stremme. Bert.
Ethan Dotson.
Ethan Dotson. And then, as it turns out, and this is not going to help me, but Curtis, Changa, and myself, we all took the French tickler, Kyle Strickler. I know it's the high side tickler, but yeah, the French tickler. That's what we're going to call him from now on. Kyle Strickler. We should have taken Dotson, and I got to be completely honest with you. I literally overthought this shit because I figured for sure that Curtis, for sure, as a point leader, I figured for sure he would take Ethan Dotson. I didn't even think there'd be a question. So I'm like, if I want to beat him, I got to go different. So I went Strickler, and all 3 of us went Strickler. Duck Rivers having a $6,000 to win late model show was going to be the XR Super Series. It is no longer that. That is Saturday. That is now moved from XR Plus over to Hunt the Front TV. That'll be streamed by Hunt the Front. Coach, who do you have for the late models?
I took a flyer. Hopefully, Mike Marlar shows up. He's going to get it done.
Okay. Bert?
Tanner English.
Yeah, the rest of us did too. I think Dano, I talked to him. He took, I think, Sam Seawright, which I was thinking of, but Curtis, Changa, and myself, we all took Tanner English. All right. So bold predictions segment, boys, brought to you by
Elevate-visual.com video productions. Make sure if you need any, Brandon is a licensed drone operator. He also does videos for commercials. He does multiple video editing. Pretty much anything you need done with a video, get a hold of Brandon at elevate-visual.com. You can also find him on Facebook.
So me and Dano actually took a little time, and we had our most recent ones, but we went through some of the old ones that were off the board and got everything cleaned up. We literally only have a handful that have not come off the board yet, so we are very well cleaned up there. We'll start with Bert. Bert, you had 4 that are going to be off the board here. You said that Chris Smokey Madden would have 3 podiums and at least 1 win this past weekend, and boy, did you jinx him, because that did not happen. You also said on episode number 215 that T-Mac, Tim McCready, would have at least 6 wins on the year. 2. You got 2 wins on the year. Did not get her done. But you did get 2 correct here. So you said right here that the Reaper, Ryan Gustin, would not podium at the Larry Phillips Memorial at Springfield this weekend. And he DNF'd. So you were correct there. And you also said that there would be only 1. So Sonoya, Peach State Classic, they had a doubleheader. You said only 1 driver would be on the podium both nights. And night number 1, the podium was Ricky Thornton Jr., Bobby Pierce, and Garrett. That was kind of weird. And Garrett Albertson. Got a little distracted there. I'm like, what the heck is that? And night number 2, Ricky Thornton Jr., and then you had Zach Mitchell and Jonathan Davenport. So, Bert, you got that one correct. Only 1. All right. The Uper had 4 come off the board as well. So he had 3 no's here. He said Brandon Overton would win this weekend in his factory Longhorn chassis debut. First of all, he got it wrong because he didn't run the factory Longhorn car this weekend, and he didn't win. So that one was wrong regardless. He also said RTJ would have a better average finish than Bobby Pierce at Sonoya, but neither one of them would win. Ouch. So RTJ clearly had a better average with a pair of firsts, but he clearly won. So that one is wrong. Episode 213, he said the XR Super Series, they had 22 scheduled events. He said they would only race less than 50% of those events. Guys, they ran 21 of them events, and the 22nd one canceled, become non-sanctioned, so that one was wrong. But he did get one correct. He said Chris Madden would not podium at the Blue Gray 100 at Cherokee. I think Trent Ivy, the little head knocker, won that one. Madden got 6th in that. Incidentally, Trent Ivy, his dad actually won that race too. So kind of cool, a father-son deal, winning that, obviously not back-to-back years. His dad won that quite a few years ago. I had a few come off the board here as well. Episode number 214, I said Joseph Joyner would have a pair of wins in his 28th special this year because he got it for the crate car. I don't even know if he's raced it, to be honest with you. So that did not happen. If it does happen in the next month here, we'll readjust it. Kraus is kind of looking at something. What are you looking at there, Kraus?
Oh, looks like Carson Macedo just yard sailed a lapper leading that Thunderbolt.
Oh boy, is he done? Did he end up rolling? Did he
I
wreck?
don't. Well, he rolled the lapper. But Macedo took off, but I don't. I think he had a bunch of damage. It'd be interesting to see what happened. There's a red flag right now.
Oh boy, oh boy. I also said so I got that one wrong. I said Chris Smoky Madden would have a better average finish than Brandon Overton at Sonoya. Well, they only raced one feature each, and Madden got 6th and Overton got 10th. So that one I got correct. Episode 214, I said we talked about it, but it never came off the board. I said there'd be no Wissota cars, no Wissota scheduled events at Deer Creek, no Wissota classes at Deer Creek in 25. That is correct. In episode 216, this one was kind of an interesting parlay, guys. So I said that Rocket chassis would have less than 10 feature wins in 2024 between the Castrol series, the Lucas series, and the World of Outlaw series. There was 95 shows raced between those 3 series. Any guesses on how many wins Rocket Chassis had? Do you think it was over or under 10?
Under.
I mean, you would think it'd be a no-brainer to be over 10.
6.
You would think. Wow.
6. Yep, that's it. So they definitely are looking to kind of revamp their national prominence in dirt late model racing. Longhorn won the lion's share. There was a few other chassis, but Longhorn won the vast majority. They have vast majority of the drivers, so it only makes sense. What else do I got here? Oh, then we jump over to Coach. Coach had a few come off the board. RTJ and Madden would go 1-2 both nights at Sonoya. Well, you're half right. RTJ went 1-1, but Bobby Pierce did not get it done. He got 2 the first night. The second night screwed you. You said RTJ would wreck Madden this weekend. That did not happen. You also said that there would be no Rockets in the top 10 either night at Sonoya. Night number 1, 6th went to Dennis Erb Jr., 7th to Turbo, 9th to Peyton Freeman, 10th to Spencer Hughes. Night number 2, 7th to Michael Page, 8th to Turbo, 10th to Brandon Overton. He was running a Rocket. Now, Coach, you should have said top 5s. If you say top 5s, yeah, you go.
That's not bold enough.
Yeah.
That would have been a Burt prediction. That's not bold enough.
That's still pretty bold. Top 5. That would, but you would have got it right. Yeah, needless to say. And then you said on episode 212, the High Limit series would be one and done. And no, they are back and better than ever in 2025. Peanut Gallery had 3 come off the board as well. Episode 210, Beefcake. USMTS would have 5 or more first-time winners in 2024. Any guesses how many first-time USMTS winners there were in 2024, you guys? Any guesses?
8.
Bert?
5.
0.
Really?
0. Yep. Every winner in USMTS had previously won. Episode 225, we had a similar prediction. Rebel Midwest Mod Tour would have 3 or more new feature winners for the series. Any guesses?
3.
0.
0.
0. Yep. And then February 19th, don't remember what episode, but Dano had a prediction. He said the top 4 classes, late models, modifieds, super stocks, Midwest mods in Wissota, the national champions will be drivers that have never won a national championship in Wissota in any class. Midwest mods, David Simpson, never won a national title. Super stocks, Dexton Cook, never won a national title. Modifieds, Cole Chernosky, never won a national title. Late models, Tyler Peterson. This is his 4th national title. So he got snake bit by the old TPO on that one.
He didn't have street stocks in there?
He didn't.
Oh.
And he and that was a first timer as well. Of course, Braden Brower, first time national champion there. Mod 4s, Dean Larson had previously won that. Pure stocks, Brent Mindock was a first time national champion. And in the Hornets, Justin Shalitsky previously had won Hornets. So only two, was that 2? 2 of the class, 3 of the classes, excuse
3.
me. Yeah, 3 of the classes had previously won. So it's kind of cool to see some new blood. Interesting though that the 7A Shane Sobraski. I mean, I'd have to look out of curiosity when the last year was when he didn't win a national championship in any class. So he was there. He was in the conversation in all of them, but yeah, he did not get her done. So let's jump onto our standings. We keep track of correct predictions and percentage correct. And the old Uper, he's still getting her done. 33 correct for the Uper. Bert, you and I are at 26, Coach at 23, the fans at 20. I think the Uper is pencil fucking us on this. I'm going to have to look at his stats because, I mean, I'm looking right here, and he had 1, 2, 3 no's right here. So I don't know. It seems like his percentage still keeps going up, and he keeps having all these no's. I think he's just kind of like doing Uper math. I'm not really sure what he's doing up there. And then on percentages, he's at 30.6, and Kraus keeps saying we're not bold enough, but I got to be honest, we suck at this. So we clearly are. Bert's at 25% in second. I'm third at 23.9. Coach at 23.7. The Peanut Gallery, you guys got some work to do. You're at 20.6. Struggle bus there. So we'll end the show this way, boys. We will do 3 laps around the track. We will make our bold predictions, and we'll start with Coach. We'll go to Bert. I got Upers here, and then I got my own as well. So, Coach Kraus.
You guys are going to have to watch this replay. I said Carson Macedo. Sorry, it was Cole Macedo leading. Guys, he yard sailed this lapper. I mean, yard sailed this lapper. Interesting, I think. Is that Tyler Courtney in the 57 Kyle Larson car running tonight? Looks like.
I think so.
Interesting to see him in that. So, the other Selzy must be Dominic Selzy, must be in second. Courtney's in third right now. They're both the only 3 names that are there. So, but you're going to have to watch this replay because he yard sailed this lapper. He rolled him. I mean, he was barreling down the wall.
Boy.
It was pretty nasty. And I think it was unnecessary. There's 10 to go. So, you guys have to watch.
Yeah,
Let me know what you
that's
think.
all on Flow. Yeah, that's all on Flow, and I'm sure they'll have highlights on their Facebook page as well, USAC Racing page. And Bert, I'm sure it does for you too. Brings me back to my childhood, right? A little Thursday night thunder. I used to watch the midgets and non-wingers out there, so kind of cool. I'll definitely tune into the replay. So, so I guess, Coach, let's start with this. Your first prediction.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Since you guys think this is a punt, I already had this. I had this 2 weeks ago because I thought it was going to be an XR deal. There would be no drivers that finish in the top 10 of Lucas points and World Outlaw points at the Duck River race this weekend.
There's a tap in, empty net tap in. Bert, I mean, do we give him a half a point if he gets this? Like them guys don't race for $6,000 to win ever. Like what?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
There's a lot of Tennessee guys. It's pretty close to their hometown.
All right,
You could go cherry pick $6,000 pretty easy.
Well, you doubled down on this because you picked Marlar,
Yeah.
so maybe he'll sneak over there. That'd be interesting to see. All right, Bert, your first prediction.
I am gonna go UMP mods and say that Kyle Strickler will not podium at that race.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like you, Bert. I like you. You're my boy now.
You ain't gonna like this one then. You ain't gonna like this one because the Uper went opposite of old Bert here. Uper has this for a prediction. UMP mods Ruderman Memorial Volusia on Dirt Vision Saturday night. The French high side tickler, we'll call it, Kyle Strickler, is gonna sweep the night. Fast time in qualifying, win the heat, and win the feature. That's his. I am going to go modifieds, but I'm going to go to the big deal that is going to be end of July in Ogilvie, Minnesota, Ogilvie Raceway. The date will change. The date will change. If they're smart, the date will change. I think it is a stupid idea to run that event against the World of Outlaws and Lucas. It makes absolutely no sense to me. I think it was a knee jerk that, hey, let's try to get a date as fast as we can because we parted ways. So the big deal at Ogilvie will not race head to head with the Prairie Dirt Classic. That is my first prediction. Coach Kraus.
We're going to the Ruderman Memorial and modifieds. Whoever is leading the race with 2 to go is going to DNF, break something, and is not even going to finish the race. I'm not going to say get past because that could happen. I'm going to say they're going to take with 2 to go. They're going to be leading, but they're going to DNF. They're going to break, and they're not even going to finish the race.
All right. So if this happens, I'll make sure to reach out to that person and say it was your fault.
Correct.
So
you can do that.
All right. Fair enough. Okay. All right. That's an interesting prediction right there. I like it. Bert?
I'll go USAC National Midgets, and say of the 3 races this week, only 2 drivers will finish on the podium all 3 nights. Otherwise, it'll be all different drivers on the podium.
Okay, so only 2 drivers. So 2 drivers will finish on the podium all 3 nights. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna go for Uper's second prediction here. South Carolina 400 asphalt late model race at Florence. Was that Florence, South Carolina? The Budweiser number 8. I think number 8. It's still number 8, right?
Yeah.
So the Budweiser number 8 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to park it in Victory Lane. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will win the South Carolina 400 at Florence. I am going to go Lucas Oil MLRA late model series. Okay. Clearly we know that that specific series is no longer a thing. It's done. Okay. 2025, somebody is going to step up, and I'm not going to say it's going to be a complete duplicate, but essentially the primary tracks that were on that tour, there will be some kind of series announced for 2025 within that region, including those racetracks, of course, with a new sponsor, but there will be some kind of series because super late model races just not a weekly thing, and those guys got to have somewhere to race their cars over there, and they're not going to travel for $5,000 to win up to Illinois for Mars races. Their budgets just aren't going to allow for that. So that the Lucas Oil MLRA series is gone, but there will be a series that includes those tracks that those drivers raced at that is going to be put together for 2025. Coach Kraus.
We're going USAC midget racing, and I'm going to stick with some parity here. We're getting 3 different winners at these 3 races, so a lot of good drivers at this deal. I think we're going to get some parity. So 3 different winners, 3 different races.
3 different winners. I think that very well could happen. Those things are, who knows if you even finish with a barrel rolling those things. They're kind of fun to watch. Bert.
I'm gonna get a head start on the Dome and say that the new real deal, Tyler Carpenter, has a better finish than Huddy.
Wow, I like it. T-Carp runs good there, man. He is that is his kind of stomping ground there. So T-Carp with a better finish than Huddy in the main event, I'm assuming, on Saturday, right?
Yes.
Okay. Uper's third and final prediction here. He's going to go USAC midgets as well. Saturday night at Merced. I think it's $20,000 to win that deal on Saturday night. Young money Kyle Larson will sweep the night. Fast time qualifying, win the heat, win the feature. Kyle Larson getting it done in Merced on Saturday night. My third and final prediction, I am going to go, give me a second here. I'm going to go Northern Lights Modified Tour. I'm kind of excited about this deal. They don't have a schedule out. They just know that it's going to be bookended with Mississippi Thunder. The first 3 nights are going to be at the Dairyland Showdown with the World of Outlaw late models. And then at the end of the year, they're going to have, I don't remember the name of the special. You can look at their website for that, but it's going to end there with a $5,000 to win show as well. A Wissota regular will win let me put it this way, at least one of the features. I have no idea how many shows, no idea the tracks, no idea on nothing yet. But at least one of the events will be won by a Wissota regular driver in the 2025 season. So I have no idea if any Wissota guys are even going to follow it. Don't know. But I'm sure hopeful that that's going to happen because I think that could be a pretty darn good thing for modified racing. So Wissota driver going to win at least one. Might revamp that down the road. Might say 5. Maybe we get Kraus to get one of them races over at Viking Speedway, get a hold of Trenton. It'd be kind of fun to see. So with that said, that show's in the book, boys. So hopefully everybody tuned in. What's going on? Kraus shaking his head. He is watching live as we're doing this show Wednesday night. Coach is watching Thunder Bowl. How many laps left over there, Coach?
Well, how many laps ago how many hours ago did I tell you there was 10 laps left?
Seems like a while.
There's 5 laps left now. So some other guy barreled rolled in 3 and 4, and now somebody just chopped somebody into a tractor tire. Now there's another yellow, so there's 5 to go still.
Well, I can tell you this much right now. There's 5 laps to go. I'm going to get off here. I'm going to tune in on my phone. I'm going to watch the last 5 laps so I can see there's probably something crazy going to happen. So as always, I'm Ryan. That is Bert Lehman. That is Coach Kraus. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.